Hello and welcome to this episode of the Summer of Self-Love. I'm your host, Mia Saenz, and in this episode, you get to meet Trudy Stoner. Now, I love Trudy's work, and Trudy and I are also buddies. So I'm super excited that she's here. Welcome, Trudy.
Thank you, Mia. I love being your friend, your buddy, but also your colleague and working with you. It's a joy every time.
Me too. I still remember the day we met and how we met, and you and I can talk about that off air. But yeah, it was interesting. It was beautiful. Okay, so share with us how you got into your self-love journey. Everyone's is completely different, and it's so important for people to understand that one, we don't always recognize it until we're into it, right? But then we look back in hindsight and say, oh, that was a space that led me to you, or to myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for me, it's interesting because I did it on accident. It wasn't a premeditated, like, oh, I found a coach that said you need to do self-love or you need to start with that. Or I really stumbled upon Wayne Dyer when I was like 21 or 22. And that was just sort of the crack in the door to any kind of spiritual awakening or even introduction to spirituality. When he said we're spiritual beings having a human experience, like the roof of my head blew off. It was like, what? And it resonated so much as truth to me. And I have had a history of just this cycle of toxic love, toxic relationships. And it took me years, Mia, to finally say, I'm the common denominator. And that maybe my picker isn't broken. Maybe there's something behind this. What's going on inside of me that these choices would be acceptable? And I realized that it was this deep sense of unworthiness, unlovability. And I have we all have stories that we build from experiences. And mine just continued to build over the years. And then my ego got proof. And with each subsequent toxic relationship, it got stronger and stronger. Oh, you're so broken. You're so messed up. Your picker's so broken. That led me inside. And then I had this absolute awakening that was like, I am love. If I'm spirit made manifest, how could I be anything but that? And these are just stories. All of this stuff is just because of beliefs and stories, things that I've made up as either a coping mechanism or a reason for something. And that was it. That was the journey began. It was like, oh my gosh. And then I learned to start embracing me and looking in the mirror, seeing what was right instead of what was wrong. And that's where it started.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I love that you mentioned Wayne Dyer. Fabulous art and person. One thing that you said, his statement, and it must have been from a book that you read, right? Mm-hmm. For humans living or spirit living a human experience. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because as a metaphysician and growing up as one, I heard that as a little girl. I knew that. And so it's not an original concept, like nothing is, right?
Right.
From spirit, from consciousness, from the one, whatever, it's all out there the same. And so I love that he put that out there, right? Because it affected you in the way that it supported you down the road.
Yes.
And I have to say, whenever you say your picker, it cracks me up. My picker isn't broken.
I mean, I really truly believe that. And I've heard over the years, and as a coach, I've heard other women say it again and again. Really? My picker's broke. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got it from you. So
maybe they did. Well, and it's so easy to blame something external, right? Like, it's not my fault. My picker's broke. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking within and saying, maybe there's a reason I'm making these choices. what could that be all about? And just asking a deeper question.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know how many people are, well, we don't need a percentage, but literally are afraid to say that and look in what, you know, and to even say, you said, I'm the common denominator. I had that experience with my husband where I realized, where we got back together after some time apart, that I was a common denominator, because I looked at my first relationship with my first husband and I was like, wow, I guess I'm still doing or experiencing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
With it can't be both of them. It has to be me.
Yes.
Looking at that common denominator changes our life, isn't it?
Yes, I agree. It really does. And people, fear, right? You and I say this constantly. We both go broken record on this. You have two choices, love or fear. And so, when you're choosing love, it's not about blame and it's not about judgment. So all of a sudden, when you shift from fear, which is the part that doesn't want to look inside, that's like, oh, it couldn't possibly have anything to do with me, because there's a fear that says, I'm going to find out I'm more broken than I could ever imagine, or I'm going to find out there's something really wrong with me. And when we look at it through eyes of love and we choose that direction, there's no judgment. There's a kindness, there's a compassion built into the design. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, and then we get all the tools, all the tips and tricks, right? The nurturing the little girl, going in and figuring out where did this happen? And I did an intuitive writing. Oh my gosh. I think my twins were like 4. So like 19 years ago, way before I was on this journey. And I didn't know it was an intuitive writing. I was just journaling. But I had a very crystal clear vision of myself in the womb. And I was adopted, and my biological mom hid the pregnancy from everyone she knew. And I was able in that writing to feel what that felt like, and that I could actually really see myself, like on a cellular level, absorbing emotions like shame, guilt, anger, like I don't want to deal with this kind of an energy. And then it started to go click, 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 click. Oh, what's my major thing? Abandonment, rejection, not worthy, not good enough, not lovable. And the puzzle started to present itself to me when I was willing to go within and go, whoa, how come I'm choosing these things? Yeah. It all starts, well, how could it not? But it all starts with us.
It does.
Right?
And that's that, and it's not even a self-evaluation. We're not here to criticize ourselves. We're here to love ourselves, to grow, but recognizing the areas that didn't work.
Yes.
Allows us to embrace the areas that do work.
Absolutely. And to heal, right? Just that little bit of recognition brought so much compassion, because by the time I had that writing, I was a mom. And so it was such an easy, it wasn't a leap at all. It was such an easy step to have so much compassion for that infant, for that little girl, even for my mother, right? Making those choices, like so much love, so much compassion and empathy. And then this understanding that said, oh my gosh, you were never broken at all. You were never unlovable, ever. It was just this little, it started out as a cellular hit because I didn't have the cognitive ability to form that thought. But when I got a little bit older, then it formed. And it was like, it was just a feeling in a sense, but then you know how the ego works. It goes to work to prove a point, like to prove a story right. So then I started gathering evidence without consciously being aware of it, but always searching for like evidence to prove that story right. Oh, see, your boyfriend cheated on you. You're not lovable. Mm-hmm. And then, and then I got into the story of, Well, I better pick men that are more broken than me so they don't leave.
Mm.
And that one had to go with self-love, right? That one had to be one of the first to go when I started to really love myself and know, oh my gosh, I really am lovable and I'm really worthy and I deserve great love. And then the judgment left as well. It wasn't even I have to pick a more broken man. No, there's no such thing. Nobody's broken. And it became so much more compassion.
It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank you.
Share with us some self-love tools that you either love for yourself or you love to share with others.
I would say the hardest one, but the most profound, was when I was introduced to Louise Hay's mirror work. And standing in a mirror and looking yourself in the eyes and saying, I love you. And, I always tell my clients, when we're working on this journey, like that's so difficult for so many women. It takes time. And I just really encourage them. It's a step by step. Some days you can do 30 seconds, some days a minute. It's going to grow as long as you don't give up. And I hear all the things. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. Or my mean girl voice comes in and I can't help it because I stop saying I love you and I go straight to like criticism. And I say, when you're falling in love with another person, the beginning heady romancy, like the first, let's say like date number 3 or 4, you're actively staring at this person and you are like digging for gold. You are actively looking for compatibilities, for things that you have in common and what you love about them. Oh my God, I love the sound of his voice, or look at his beautiful eyes. I love the color of his skin. I love the way that like his hands are so masculine, or, it's like we dig for gold. And then fast forward in the future and you run into any kind of a hiccup and what do? Start building a case for any story that we want to tell ourselves. We start digging for dirt. Then it's like, oh, I hate the way you choose. I hate that. Like we start looking, and it's like same thing when we do mirror work. You're going to build a case and a story around whatever it is that you want to see. So if I look in the mirror and I tell myself, none of us are perfect. We can find things that we label as wrong. It doesn't mean they are wrong, but it's our perception. And oh my God, I would never speak to another human being the way that I do myself in the mirror. Are you kidding me? Like I wouldn't have a friend in the world. My sisters would disown me. It would be over. Like you would never. But the things that I have said to myself in a mirror are hideous. And when I think about that now, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And so that's what practice does. Like, so mirror work. The second thing, once they've gotten into mirror work, is soul gazing, which is an extension of mirror work. And you get yourself a little hand mirror. And I like hand mirrors because you can sit anywhere that you're comfortable and put on some beautiful music and you just gaze into your own eyes. And you can do this with a friend, a partner, a lover. You can do this with anyone, but soul gazing is immensely powerful because it gets us beyond the ego. It gets us even beyond the human flesh. We are looking for the soul. And so when we do that, what I've witnessed, I used to do this in live workshops with women. Now I do it virtually, is at first it's wiggly, it's uncomfortable. And then when they start to relax into it and give themselves permission to really see their soul, it's tears. It's tears. And I call it the ice around the heart is melting and it comes out in tears and it's very cleansing. And then you see a softening and an opening, and it's like an acceptance and a relief. Like I get to just love myself. I'm perfectly perfect and I get to love myself. So
the soul gazing is really beautiful because it's also part of the tantric work and into the energy of the interior life force, right? Between yourself and another or yourself.
Yes.
So that's really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, it's like that's the foundation. I think that's the foundation. It gets the ball rolling. The third thing is really clarity around what you want. What kind of life do you want to lead? And then an I am statement or declaration, which is you're going to write about the you that is the spirit, basically. Who are you really? Without all the stories, without all the limiting beliefs, without the heartbreak, without all of the stuff. Go back to the absolute core of who you are. And so an I am statement, just an example might be, I am love. I am the universe made manifest. I am loving kindness. And then that becomes like your new way of being. And you have that. I mean, I have my clients post it places. I have them read it twice a day. I learned this from Steve Hardison, in the book, The Ultimate Coach. And I thought, brilliant. And I absolutely love it, but I want to give credit where it's due. And it is life-changing.
My statement on putting affirmations up on walls, bathroom mirrors, refrigerators, front doors. I've never been, so when I would watch my friends do this as a coach, and they were all coaches, I didn't like it because it's not enough. 2 times a day, I don't think is enough. To reprogram ourselves, it has to be like when I was healing cancer. I am cancer free. I had to say it 400 times a day, 3 days in a row before I believed that I was cancer free. That was so set in craziness that I was saving my life.
Absolutely. Well, and I think there's a difference between an I am statement and an affirmation.
I use them, yeah, together.
Yeah. And so, and you can have both, right? You can have both. But to me, like, you're right, because an affirmation requires that, like, it might take a little time for us to believe it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know people that put, I guess my point is, we know people that post them all over and don't actually do the work.
Right.
Right. Go, I am love. And then, oh, I am love. And then they're out the door yelling at somebody after they get in their car. So where did the love go? Right.
Yes. Yes. And that's so
Point
key.
that I'm trying to bring. Yeah.
Because an I am declaration or a document is an actual state of being. And it is something that, obviously, it's not something that you just do because your coach tells you to do it. It requires that there's a desire behind it, that this is who you be in the world, and you're making a conscious choice. And I tell my clients all the time, like, this is a practice. And just like strengthening a muscle, it's going to take time. But something happened to me. I was driving in the city, and there was so much traffic. And I was so frustrated with it. And I was, honestly, it was like somebody was coming into my lane and didn't have a blinker on and was just like basically going to run me off the road. And
yeah, that's right.
Instantly the human, right? Instantly the like, what? And out of my mouth wanted to come like, you're an idiot. And because I do this work, and because I do my I am statement, and because it's a state of being that I have declared, there was just a very gentle, not scolding, just the sweetest, gentlest reminder. Oh, is that what your I am statement looks like? And what it does is it helps me, like, no pun intended, because I'm talking about traffic, but get back in my lane, right? I'm in my I am statement. I'm in my state of being. I can do it more and more and more, the more that I reaffirm it each day. I start my day with my I am statement, because it's just a reaffirming of like, oh, it's so juicy. This is who I am. This is who I really am. And then I end my day with it. So instead of trying to convince my mind that this is who I am, I feel it into my body and I recognize it as who I am. And that's, I think, the difference for me between that and an affirmation. Because you're right. Sometimes my affirmations are me trying to like talk myself into something or become something that I don't quite believe. So I do feel a difference in it, but it is also a beautiful reminder to come back into that state of being, to just return to love. I guess that's the simplest way to say it, is that sometimes we're going to, it's like in relationship, this is so powerful because we habit, and we will feel it. We start to physically feel it in our bodies when we get out of alignment with love, and then we can return to love much faster than we ever could before.
Absolutely. I love that. I love when we can use an affirmation as a mantra and chanting it more or less. I am cancer free, or I am loved. I am loved. It takes me about 3, not even quite 4 times if I'm feeling out of my alignment of my joy to literally repeat, I am love. And what I love that you brought up is I didn't actually even recognize until you said it. When I'm saying I am loved, I am feeling it through my body. So that's the part that you were talking about. And that is the state of being, right? The transformation that changes who we are.
Yes. Yes. We've all done the affirmations where it's all up here. And it's just like memorizing something for school. I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. And right. And we're doing the dishes and we're multitasking and we are not in the present moment. It's just, I'm doing my mantra. I said it 50 times. Okay. I said it 50 times. Now, the difference between that and like anchoring in, it's so much more powerful to sit and anchor into it and feel, what is that? What does that even mean? I am love. And to have that sensory, like in your body somatically, one time is going to be more powerful than 50 of the right. I am love 50 times on a piece of paper. And you're just like, by the time 49, you're like watching TV and I am love, I am love, I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's lovely. And it is about that deep connection, right? That's why we do the work. And so the question that you said, if you ask yourself or bring it to that place, I am love, and what does that look like, feel like? That's what I'd like you guys to take some time. I'm giving homework on Trudy's thing here. Take some time and to explore that, because that is the space that's really important to be in, to feel it, to be able to breathe it, to be able to have your breath change to something lighter that actually feels good going into your body instead of stressed out. It's really a somatic experience.
And let whatever comes come, and don't be surprised if there's a little resistance at first. Like, that's perfectly okay. And that's just your ego being like the guard at the gate, trying to protect you from whatever story you're telling yourself that love is not safe. Like, we have all these stories about love, and really they're about what love is not. And when we really tune into what love is, it's perfectly safe. It's the safest place you can be. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And then you'll notice a shift in your body. And a lot of times, like I said, it leads with tears, because there's a healing. And I believe that tears are very healing. I feel like it's a cleansing, a natural cleansing that happens in the body.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're out of time, which is the way it always goes, super fast.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Always wonderful, though.
Thank you. What would you like to leave us with? Any thoughts or that we haven't covered yet?
I think really honestly, just be open to the idea that what you think about love might not be what love really is. And, all this spiritual talk, and I'm going to actually leave it with a scripture. And it is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which we've all heard at a wedding at some point in our lives. But I just encourage you to look it up. You can Google it. Love is patient, love is kind. And just when you look at that, I mean, I've made it into a beautiful PDF that actually I can include with my gift, because it's such a beautiful reminder of what love really is. And when we can see that clearly, it's like a blueprint.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Trudy. It was awesome.
Thank you, Mia.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us for this beautiful episode. There were a lot of nuggets here.
No, thank you, sweetie.
Sometimes I can't turn this off. I don't think